Today we're going to discuss the holdover clause in a retail or commercial lease. What exactly does holdover mean? Holdover is essentially what happens in a lease situation or a lease term when the lease is expired yet the business and tenant are still in the property continuing to operate. So that it basically is what we would say month to month, though with a lease that's well written, there's usually a holdover clause. And what holdover essentially covers are a couple of very important things. And number one, it specifies the lease rate going forward. So perhaps you're thinking maybe you're going to pay the same rate you were at the last month of your previous term. However, a holdover could specify that the lease rate in the holdover period could be maybe 10% more. Some holdover clauses that we've reviewed are 25% more, and we've even seen 50 to 100% more, which is maybe even up to double what the previous rate is. And the reason that these higher holdover rates are specified in the lease terms is that typically landlords do not want to let the space go under a unencumbered term, because it does two things to the property. Number one, if there's a lot of month-to-month tenants in the location, it becomes less desirable for buyers that are looking to invest in the property the landlord may sell, and also more importantly, it may adversely impact the landlord's ability to finance or refinance the property if there's too many month-to-month or leftover tenants. So essentially, keep in mind, especially when you're negotiating leases, what a landlord's typically want is a tenant that's on a long-term lease so that it's a tangible asset for them and banks and any prospective buyers looking at the property. Now back to your situation in holdover, what do you plan to do when you're in holdover is you want to make sure you know what the rate is, and if it's going to be a significant increase, then you want to make sure before holdover kicks in that you try to negotiate a new term. And if you don't negotiate a new term, then be prepared to pay that increased rate. Another important thing you want to be aware of in a holdover clause is that it may specify any damages. Let's say, for example, the holdover clause is only 10% increase over your previous month's rate, but market rents are actually gone up by 50%. And this may be because you're able to negotiate a much lower term before. And so what's going to happen is some holdover clauses are well written by attorneys for the landlord's favor that would say that if market rent is higher than the holdover rate that you're paying, that they can enforce a damages clause, which would force you to pay some amount of damages, maybe even beyond what market rate would be, to compensate the landlord for the lost ability to re-let the property at a proper market rate. All this being said, you want to really make sure that you're going to be way ahead of the curve, and if your holdover clause does not contain terms that are in your favor, to start to negotiate well in advance. And the things you can do to negotiate well in advance is to, number one, make sure you do a market survey of the rental rates in the area so you know where properties of the type that you are in should be rented for. So for example, if you say they're worth $2 a square foot and the landlord says it's worth $3 a square foot, you need to have some data backing you up that your number is correct more than their number is correct. Also, if you can go and negotiate in advance, what you can do is you can advocate the best case for yourself, and that would be to have a proper business plan written out of what you're going to do in the new term so that the landlord knows that you're committed to the space, but you're also committed to making a success of the business. And that is what additional things you're going to do to promote and market the business, and what things you're going to do to also maintain cost structures so you're not losing profit, but maintaining your profitability and hopefully increasing your profitability by watching your costs. Thank you again for watching. If you have any needs that come up with your lease, perhaps negotiating rates or figuring out what market rents are in your area, feel free to contact my office at area code 888-926-9193. We'd be happy to help you with negotiating favorable terms, a lower rate, a longer lease, whatever things you need to get negotiating your lease to make your business more profitable and more successful we're again here happy to help you do that. Thank you.